Hi, welcome back to my channel Skillset Go. In this video, we will see how to use a retrofit library in Android. So first of all, what is retrofit used for? Suppose you know the endpoint of the server API, REST API. So from where you will get the response, the desired response. So if you know the URL, you will use a browser to get the response. Let's see example. Suppose you know this URL, you will use this browser to get the response. So what is this browser in this concept? It is a client for the server, for this server where the endpoint is. So in the same way, using Android development, we will use a retrofit library to connect a REST APIs and get the responses. So here we have a sample servers online available. We can use for testing. So this is one URL. So with this URL, we can get this as a response. So as you know the URL, we were using a browser to get the response. So this is a response which has user ID, title and body, and there are list of these kind of objects. So now we are going to see how to use a retrofit library in Android development to get the same response in Android. So first we need to create a POJO class related to this one so that we can save this response in that POJO objects. Let's go to Android Studio and let's create a POJO class. New class, just name it post. As here the URL refers to posts, we will get the list of posts. So let's create a class with the name post, and inside this let's add these parameters, user ID, title and body, so that we can save those in this post class objects instances. Integer user ID, next ID is an integer, title and body are strings. So for this we need to create a getter and setter methods. Let's generate them, getter and setter methods for all parameters. And let's create a toString method so that we can print and see the response from the server. So now we have created a POJO class so that we can store the response in this instance. So now we have created a POJO. So in order to hit this URL, we have to create simply an interface so that we can use that method to get the response. Let's create an interface. Just say API interface. This is an interface. Let's see. And in this interface, we will create all endpoints of the server which we are going to call. So here we are going to call posts, and let's create a method getPost which will return a call object from the retrofit. As you can see, this is a retrofit. So this is a retrofit. This function returns a list of posts. Import the class list. And let's name the function as just get posts. We can name it anything. So we have created a function, but how to map this function to this URL? So this is the base URL and this is the next URL path. So we need to map that function to this posts. So we have annotations, retrofit library annotations, get method. So in this method, we can specify the path, posts. So that's it we have to do here. So we are going to connect only one URL. So we have created one function. If we have many URLs, we can create many functions and map those URLs with using get or post. And this will return a list of posts. As we have seen here, it returns a list of these kind of objects, user ID, title, body, which is posts. And now as we have created interface and we need to call this function. So instead of calling for calling this function, we need an instance of this class. As this is interface, we can't create an instance of this. So with using retrofit library, we can create an instance of this class and call this function to get the response. So let's go to main activity and let's create an instance of retrofit first. So in retrofit, we can mention the base URL. So here we have just mentioned the second part of URL, but the base URL we have not mentioned it. While creating a retrofit instance, we will give what is the base URL for this request. Let's create a retrofit instance. For creating a retrofit instance, we use a retrofit builder. Retrofit dot builder. So we will provide a base URL to this builder. So in our case, in our example, what is the base URL? The base URL is this. Just copy this and paste here. And here, as you can observe, the whole response is automatically converted to a POJO objects. It will get a response of JSON, the list of JSON, array of JSON, and it will automatically convert into instances of post classes. So internally, retrofit uses a factory, a converter factory. So we can provide a converter factory, custom converter factory, or internal factory. So how to provide? So for basic purpose, for this example, we will add a converter factory, JSON converter factory dot create. So now retrofit uses this converter factory to convert the response into a POJO instances. And finally, we will get an instance of retrofit using build method. So now we have got a retrofit instances which is having a base URL, this one, and it uses this converter factory to convert responses into a POJO instances. And we have created a retrofit instance, but for calling this function, we need an instance of API interface. So for that, we can easily create using retrofit dot create and just provide what class, what we want to create. So let's call it this as service. Let's create a variable. So now we have created an instance of an interface we have created. We have not implemented anything here. We have just mentioned what is the URL and what it returns. So now we can call easily get posts method. So now as soon as you call a get posts, it may take some time to get the response. So we need to provide a callback function where it need to send a response. So first let's create a callback. We have a callback in retrofit to library, and callback, what it returns, a list of posts. Let's name it callback and create new callback. Let's import this list. So this callback is used after the response is available. Just we are creating a first callback and we will provide this to the get post method. So now as we have service instance, let's call get post. Service dot get post. That's it we need to do. So we need to provide this callback here so that after response is available, it will call these methods. If it is response is available, it will call this. If it any failures, it will call this. Let's provide this callback here, enq, and provide callback. So we will get a response in this function. So we will get a list of post response here. Let's print response here. We can use response dot body. So this returns a list of posts, and let's print all posts using stream method for each. And let's add an annotation which is required. And if it is on failure, let's print this error t dot stack trace, print stack trace. And let's execute this and see the result. We need to get all these responses. And let's execute and try. The Gradle build is running. So we have got an error exception, no address associated with host name. We have given this URL JSON placeholder saying some problem with host name. Let's execute this and try again, because sometimes because it is a third-party server, it may return anything anytime. And let's see, now we have got a response. So we are not filtering a response with anything. Let's prefix with my channel name. And let's execute this again. And let's filter this with, so as you can see, we have got a response. Post. So user ID 4 3 5 6 8 10. So we have got 100 posts. The same thing we have got in the browser. So we have got 100 posts. I hope you understood the basic of Retrofit and how to use a Retrofit library to get a response from the REST API. First, we have set a POJO class equal to the response body, and we have kept a field names exactly same as in the response. Then we have created an interface and mapped that method to particular URL, and it returns a call object with desired response, which will return list of posts. So how to connect this interface to the Retrofit? Let's go to main activity. We have created a Retrofit instance providing a base URL and what factory, converter factory to use response to a POJO instances, and finally we will get a Retrofit instance. So with using this instance, we can create a service class instance. So this is the interface we have created, and we will create an instance of that. If you have different interfaces, we can create same thing with using retrofit.create and provide that interface class, but it will have a same base URL. If you have different URL, base URL, then create different instance of Retrofit and create the interface using that Retrofit. And this is just a callback function where the response should be provided after the response is available. And this callback will provide to this service.post. This will connect to the REST API and get the response, and that response should provide to this callback. We are providing this callback function so that the response will come to this callback. So finally, we have seen a desired response. I hope you understood this video on how to use Retrofit library. Please watch more videos on Retrofit library in the coming tutorial. Please share and subscribe my videos. Thank you for watching.